Peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of what I call the Reality's Temple on Earth Internet Ministry. Of course, I am your soul brother number one, Angel Snub 7. Woo! Gotta try to maintain. Have to try not to be so emotional. But it's very difficult not to be emotional when you have certain persons who just will not allow the deceased to rest in peace. How long has our brother Malcolm X, how long has he been gone from us? But yet and still, there is a group of persons. I don't know what their purpose or their intent. It seems as though it's jealousy or it's some attempt to make themselves look good. I don't know what their problem is. But for some reason, for this particular group of persons, it seems to be hunting season for them. Who are they hunting? They are hunting Malcolm X. They wish to slander his name, make mockery and degrade Brother Malcolm, because Brother Malcolm, he ain't all that. I want to remind us, those of us who have a little sense, I want to remind us that Brother AdMinister Malcolm X Shabazz, at the time of his demise, he was only 39 years old. But half of that, more or less, with the knowledge and the understanding that he had, he did the best he could for a people who were destroyed, made, in his words, made lost, deaf, dumb, and blind. And he did everything that he could within what he knew at that time. Now here you are. You want to make mockery of Malcolm. You want to degrade or slander his name. Oh, Malcolm is not all that. He said dumb things or whatever. Now mind you that all of these who speak like this, none of them have even done even close. None of them could even touch the pinky of Brother Malcolm. None of them put together. None of them. Because we know who Malcolm is all over the earth. Who the hell are you? Bunch of nobodies. Who the hell are you? You're older than 39 years old. Who the hell are you? What have you accomplished? What have you done? But yet and still, you could talk about this man of whom was denied the opportunity of life that you have. Malcolm, Brother Malcolm, a sincere brother, an honest man, a real man. That's why he was rejected. Because y'all Negroes like a show. You like falsehood. You're a bunch of hypocrites and fake. You don't want to do what is necessary to actually change your condition because you a bunch of scared flunkies, so you pretend. And you gather around those who allow you to pretend. Brother Malcolm was not the great pretender. So he deserves somebody to defend him, somebody to stand up for him because he can't stand up for himself. Those who are so pathetic and so trifling, they will not allow the dearly departed to rest in peace. So I will do it. I will speak for Brother Malcolm. I will stand up for him against these idiots who will not allow this poor man who gave his all for us as a so-called people who really didn't deserve a Malcolm, and perhaps that's one of the reasons why time allowed Malcolm to be taken, because he was not appreciated. But after time passes, many of us see the value of a Malcolm X. If we had Malcolm X's, if black men, so-called black men, were like a Malcolm X, who knows how far we could have progressed by now, by being real, not by being pompous and putting on these shows, these debates, these marches, these symbols with no substance. Y'all like that because it requires nothing of you, no sacrifice. You can continue to be and live in your status as being a comfortable dark European Negro. So I had to speak about earlier and defend Malcolm against this man called Nuri Muhammad, because he would not allow Malcolm to rest in peace. He continued to spread lies and slander on Malcolm. Then you have those who come to the post who wish to defend Nuri Muhammad and call me a hater. What you think Nuri Muhammad was doing? He's a hater. He's a divider, a liar, and a slander. Don't have enough respect for a man who's no longer among us. And the only reason why I spoke about Nuri Muhammad, because of his false words against Brother AdMinister Malcolm X Shabazz. If it was not for that, I would have nothing to say. He can be a Farrakhan flunky and a crony all that he wants to. I could care less. But when he stepped to the plate to defend Malcolm, and Malcolm cannot say anything or defend himself, then I will do it. And then you get angry at me. Nuri Muhammad deserves somebody to defend him. Why can't Malcolm? Why shouldn't Malcolm be defended? If you don't like Malcolm, then why don't you just keep his name out your mouth and go on about your business? Because there are many out here who would defend Brother Malcolm, not only myself, many, because we realize and we recognize the value of a Malcolm X. Now we have a new cat. I don't know who this guy is. I just ran into a video. One of my subscribers, they mirrored some stuff that this fella had to say about Malcolm. So I need to step up. This fella has 29,000. Who is listening to this guy? Pharaoh said that, something like that. Well, allow me to continue to introduce or make him more famous or infamous. This Pharaoh said that person. And I want to debunk everything that this fella has to say about Brother Malcolm. Mind you, again, clearly he's older than 39 years old. And the question that one should raise, since you can run your mouth about Brother Malcolm, where is your work? What have you done? Since you can talk all this crap about somebody who cannot defend themselves against your lies, your slander, your mockery. Let us examine, and I will respond to the bull presented by this Pharaoh said that person. Now that name in and of itself. You think you an Egyptian? Who that? You think you from Kemet? I mean, but you look like a pimp. What the hell's going on here? Y'all be the judge. Here we go.
So we can't take away how great the Nation of Islam is. And the Nation of Islam was started by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And Elijah Muhammad created Malcolm X. Elijah Muhammad created Louis Farrakhan, and Elijah Muhammad created Dr. Khalid Muhammad. This is just a fact.
There are many persons who say just what this fella is talking about, that Elijah Muhammad. Now, I'm not here to talk about Farrakhan or Khalid Muhammad. I'm here to talk about Malcolm. I'm here even to talk about myself. He says that Elijah Muhammad created Malcolm X. No, he did not. Elijah Muhammad was able or converted Malcolm. He did not create. He converted Malcolm. Malcolm was already the man who he was. But during that conversion, because he was converted to this philosophy, it only triggered what was already inside of him anyway. As a child, Malcolm wanted to be a lawyer. So that gives you a sign that Malcolm already had this inside of him. Malcolm came from a background where his father was a rebel, a revolutionary. His mother was a revolutionary. It was all the pieces to make up who Malcolm was already there. Elijah Muhammad did not put that there. Elijah Muhammad did not create that circumstance. The only thing Elijah Muhammad did was convert this man to a philosophy, to religious dogma. That's all that he did. Same thing to me. Nobody create nobody. And if you want to continue that logic, then when Malcolm came to the nation of Islam was a butt, just like Sister Betty Shabazz described. When Malcolm joined the Nation of Islam, it was a bunch of old people and a couple of temples. It was nothing to speak of. But because of the conversion, but because of the energy that Malcolm already was, he took that energy, and within a 10-year, 12-year period, he took this nothing. Now, if Elijah Muhammad can create all this, well, you tell me why the nation wasn't nothing. It was nothing to speak of prior to Malcolm X. Malcolm X took the Nation of Islam international. Why Elijah Muhammad, the messenger, backed by God, how come he couldn't do it? So, using your logic, let's say that Elijah Muhammad created Malcolm. But Malcolm made the nation. Malcolm, not Elijah Muhammad. Malcolm made the nation what it was, and what anybody's doing today is because of Malcolm X. So if y'all want to talk that way, give everybody a credit. Okay, let's say that Elijah Muhammad created Malcolm, but Malcolm brought this, what you see now. Farrakhan didn't do it. Khalid Muhammad didn't do it. Nuri Muhammad didn't do it. What you see, anything that any Muslim do now is because of the energy that was brought to by Malcolm, this person that was converted to Islam. A skill and a talent that was already there, that he gave to the nation of Islam because he was converted, not created. What else do this cat have to say? Bunch of bull.
So when people see that I wasn't too pleased with Malcolm X calling the Nation of Islam a criminal organization, this is why. It wasn't just he said that, it was that he said that to the CBS News, which the CBS News was not our friend, Hollywood was not our friend, the media was not our friend, and these statements he made against Elijah Muhammad were not going to be directed or posted for black people to hear. And this time, when Malcolm went to CBS and all that, black people didn't even watch the news or TV. Black people listened to the radio. Black people in Chicago listened to WVON. They did not listen or watch television like that. So his message was to white people. When you look at Malcolm X standing there with the gun in the window, that gun was for black people. That gun was not for white people.
So I feel responsible for having played a major role in developing a criminal organization.
You mentioned conspiracy between the black Muslims and the right wing of this country. Could you elaborate on it?
I mentioned the conspiracy between the Muslims and the right wing in this country. I know for a fact that there is a conspiracy between the Muslims and the Lincoln Rockwell Nazi and also the Ku Klux Klan. There is a conspiracy.
Describe this conspiracy.
Well, the Ku Klux Klan made a deal, or were trying to make a deal with Elijah Muhammad in 1960 in the home of Jeremiah X, the minister in Atlanta at that time, who at present is the minister in Philadelphia. They were trying to make a deal with him to make available to Elijah Muhammad a county, a size tract of land in Georgia or South Carolina, where Elijah Muhammad could then induce Negroes to migrate and make it appear that his program of a segregated state or separated state was feasible. And to what extent these negotiations finally developed, I do not know.
At the time Elijah Muhammad set up the Nation of Islam, they had schools, stores, everything. There is no organization in black America that even comes close to the Nation of Islam.
Okay. Malcolm X called the Nation of Islam a criminal organization. We don't have a lot of time to really get into detail on this particular accusation presented by Brother Malcolm. So we need to do our own research. We need to do our own investigation. Prior to Elijah Muhammad, prior to Malcolm, we can go back to the man that's really started it all. this man called Wallace Fard Muhammad. We go back to his time period. And if you investigate, you will hear about something called the zebra murders that happened in Detroit. One of the followers of Wallace Fard Muhammad, Lost Found Nation of Islam, one of the followers committed a murder, a sacrifice of a black person. And this made local news very heavily. And it put focus and it brought attention to the Nation of Islam. It wasn't technically called the Nation of Islam at that time. What was it? The Lost Nation, the Found Nation, something. Do investigate yourself. I'm making this video very quickly, so I did not take the time to really get my facts down pat. But you know, many of you want to prove me wrong, so do the best that you can. Look up the zebra murders, Detroit, and Wallace Fard Muhammad, and you will see this was the first example of criminal behavior coming up out of the Nation of Islam. Because murder is a criminal activity, right or wrong. Then as we go into the 1960s, you will find something called the Black Philly Mafia, which consists of Nation of Islam members coming from up out of the Philadelphia temple there. Now, here's a temple with only a handful of members, but they live in large. How is this possible? You don't have that many members. The reason why the temple in Philadelphia was living large, because the FOI, the criminal members, was engaged in prostitution, drugs, and so forth and so forth. That's criminal activity. Malcolm knew about this. And common sense tell you something is going on when you only have a handful of followers, but you are able to maintain this big, gigantic temple. Something is going on here. And you just turn a blind eye. It's not to say that Elijah Muhammad himself participated or actually, well, I mean, come on, look, you know that your membership cannot maintain this temple the way that it's going. But it was maintained by criminal activity. Also, out of this temple, do your own research and investigation. You will hear about a murder of a whole black family. Now, if you notice, when you do speak of the Nation of Islam and criminal activity, it's always against black folks. It's always against the people of soul. Never against racists. Nobody from the Ku Klux Klan. They made no attempt to kill nobody no racist police officer that actually murdered Muslims. To 7 to 9 or more black Muslims was killed by the police or whatever. They made no attempt. Brother Malcolm wanted to retaliate. Elijah Muhammad said, no, we can't do that. Brother Malcolm wanted to get revenge and retaliate for the murder against black Muslims. But the Nation of Islam had no problem when it came to killing other black folks. So you had this other soul brother that was talking about Elijah Muhammad, critiquing Elijah Muhammad, and these Negroes didn't like it, and they killed him and his whole family. I think it was 1 or 2 survivors out of the massacre. That's criminal activity, right? Also, in regards to Malcolm X himself, you had Captain Yusuf Shaw, and it was reported on his deathbed, Captain Yusuf Shaw, he said that he was present when the Muslims firebombed Malcolm X's home. And of course, Malcolm himself was assassinated the next day. Also, the same behavior continues right now to this day. I myself can testify on 2 occasions I was threatened with bodily harm by members of the Nation of Islam. On 2 occasions. I get emails, telephone calls all the time by ex-members of the Nation of Islam, past and present, that said when they left or even when they were in the mosque, they were beaten up and threatened by FOI. I was married to a woman who was a member of the Nation of Islam, and she even bragged to me about how she beat up her own sisters, the MGT. And you want to act like Malcolm was saying something that is wrong? We don't like hearing the truth. We don't like to accept the reality of things. Louis Farrakhan, right now, even himself, in a recent speech, I heard him say, because he's getting tired of people with their critique of him, I want to say this to my detractors. And basically what he was saying, if he gave the word, he wouldn't have to worry about these detractors. Now, he did not say this in reference to the Jews and other Caucasian people that actually threatened his life. When I was at FOI, we had a meeting in Madison Square Garden, I believe it was. And you had the Jewish Defense League and some other anti-defamation league, whatever the hell they was. They was outside saying, who do we want? Farrakhan. How do you want them? Dead. Who do we want? Farrakhan. How do we want them? Dead. That's what they were saying. But he never made, nothing came out of his mouth talking about, if you hurt me, we're going to beat your ass or we're going to do this. But when it comes to, but when it comes to dark-skinned people, when it comes to the people of soul, the Nation of Islam has no problem in murdering you and me. And you have a problem, you saying that Malcolm is telling a lie when he called the Nation of Islam a criminal organization, ain't assault and battery, criminal behavior, least to say slander and gossip and these other things. Then you talk about Malcolm was holding a gun for black folks. Malcolm was holding a gun because his life was threatened. You did not see Malcolm holding a gun prior to the Nation of Islam making threats and inspiring people to hate him and in fact murder him. There was threats against this man's life. Of course he was holding a gun for defense, for protection. He should have had that gun on the day of his assassination. But I believe Malcolm just decided to let these Negroes murder him so his family would no longer have to go through this bull crap. These niggas, bow tie wearing niggas. And I want to make clear, even during my time under Louis Farrakhan, there are many beautiful, sincere, honest brothers and sisters, FOI and MGT. Love y'all to death. Oh, I love the FOI MGT. But when they get caught up in corruption, when they get caught up and just be blind and allow anybody to say anything to them, you get caught up in this madness, this insanity. Many brothers and sisters, when this happened to Malcolm, they left the nation because they knew it was wrong. But you had those who are faithful, just like we are faithful to Jesus. They're going to stick to people because they the messenger, but your messenger, because the Farrakhan, these people are wrong. The only thing you had to do was go your way, let Malcolm go his way. But you wouldn't let Malcolm, they wouldn't let Malcolm go his way. They continued to harass that man, make threats against him, draw cartoons, speak against him on the radio. So you talking about he went to the press. He had to do what he had to do in order to defend himself. If you had left him alone, he would have left you alone. There's no evidence to show that Malcolm was just attacking the nation simply because of what happened. He was just going on and do what he wanted to do. It was the Nation of Islam that kept up this rhetoric, these threats, this propaganda to inspire the murder and the hatred of Malcolm X. And he tried to defend himself in the best manner that he could and use any resource that he could, just like they was doing. Then you're talking about that the Nation of Islam is the greatest organization that ever existed, black organization, whatever, and you just skip over Marcus Garvey, like Marcus Garvey, they didn't do anything at all or whatever. They didn't produce nothing. And you talk about all these businesses that the Nation of Islam had and whatever. And so I question all this just by saying the civil rights movement led by Dr. King, they changed policy, they changed laws in this nation that you benefit, Mr. Pimp looking guy, right now. Had nothing to do with the Nation of Islam. All black folks in this nation, soul brothers and sisters, benefit from what Dr. King, whether you like their method or not, you sit around and you benefit from what they've done. The Black Panther Party gave our children, and some of you benefit from the free lunch program, which still exists today because of what the Black Panthers done. The Black Panther Party gave us free medical care. And they also wanted to protect us, but we was too cowardly to join the ranks. And they wanted to physically defend us. But when you look at the Nation of Islam, besides pretty speeches, what exactly did the Nation of Islam do since they were so great? They had businesses. The Christian church has businesses. More businesses than the Nation of Islam. They converted people and made people better. The Christian church makes the same claim. There are many people who can tell you, if it was not for Jesus Christ, I wouldn't be the good person that I am right now. Exactly what did your nation, so great Nation of Islam, exactly what did they do? Where are their free lunch programs? Their free medical care? What laws did they change? What policy did they change? What exactly did your Nation of Islam do since they were so great? How many people right now, they work in these businesses of the Nation of Islam and you retired? You on a pension right now. Come on, let's get real. You want to bring it, bro? Let's bring it for real. Put it on the table for real. And all this facade, these illusions. Remember, everything ain't what it seems. Next.
Now, one of Malcolm's biggest criticism about Elijah is that he was meeting with the Ku Klux Klan. This was because Malcolm had a lack of historical knowledge. That, first off, Malcolm's father was a follower of Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey met with the Ku Klux Klan. And Elijah was a high-ranking general in the Garvey movement, so it would be natural for him to want to meet with the Ku Klux Klan. Now, some of you would say, meet with the Ku Klux Klan? Yes, because the Ku Klux Klan believed in separating. So if you was a black man that believed in separating, it would be very easy for you to sit and work things out with the Ku Klux Klan. They would be down with that. That would not have been a conflict of interest based on the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. If Elijah Muhammad say, look, we know that y'all whites don't want our men sleeping with your women. You don't want us in your neighborhood. You don't want to see us. You want us to be separated, because little do people know that the Ku Klux Klan never hated black people other than they wanted you to be separated. The Ku Klux Klan hated the Jews. Man, talk to some old Klan and they'll tell you they ain't got nothing against the blacks. They just don't want to be around them and mix with them. They hate the Jews. Y'all need to keep it 1,000. So the Ku Klux Klan would have been very open to blacks having the area and whites having the area. So there was absolutely nothing wrong with the Nation of Islam meeting with the Ku Klux Klan to make arrangements to get our own land. And even though Malcolm criticized that meeting, have we got anything since then? Malcolm is dead, Martin Luther King is dead, and do we have our own land? Do we have our own shit? So how can we criticize Elijah when Elijah was the one that was closest to getting it happen? The Ku Klux Klan never bothered the Nation of Islam because they knew that the Nation of Islam was not interested in racial mixing with whites. I myself could easily meet with the Ku Klux Klan. No problem. You have to know the principles of the Ku Klux Klan, and you have to know the difference between the Ku Klux Klan and the Nazis.
Okay. In all fairness, in regard to Brother Malcolm's criticism of the Nation of Islam meeting with the Ku Klux Klan and whatever, in all fairness, in this brother's, I said, bro, look, I mean, he's a brother. We have a problem with what you're saying about Brother Malcolm. We should be able to talk about certain issues, but don't actually hate one another over these things. But we do. There are those who will actually hate me for what I have to say in defense of Brother Malcolm, and there are those who dislike this brother, and I apologize for calling him some old pimp or whatever. I apologize. We shouldn't think that way. We should not think that way. We should be able to talk with one another without this type of behavior and attitude. Now, in all fairness, he makes a good point as far as Malcolm's criticism of the Nation of Islam and the KKK or whatever, because that is a part of the teachings, separation and gaining of your own land. And if the Ku Klux Klan, very powerful organization, to my knowledge, does have a lot of different land, they could easily have given or sold very cheaply to the Nation of Islam the type of land that the Nation of Islam was talking about. However, the Ku Klux Klan is not the government. In the Muhammad Speaks, the Nation of Islam is talking to the government of America. It is not talking to a group. And in 2017, of which it should have been considered back then, the Ku Klux Klan would be considered a domestic terrorist organization. It would be, they are on the terrorist list. So again, this is more of a sign of criminal behavior. Terrorism is a criminal behavior. Domestic or foreign terrorism is criminal behavior. Whether you are terrorizing somebody in Somalia or Afghanistan, or whether you are terrorizing somebody right here on American soil, it's criminal behavior. And I question this teaching, this presentation talking about that the black man we need our own land and blase blase, but you just ignore the nation of Liberia. Liberia was established prior to Nation of Islam, prior to Marcus Garvey, been in existence a long time. It was established by people who you claim you are, free blacks and ex-slaves who decided they did not want to deal with these crackers. I'd rather take my chances to establish something of my own. Their only base, their only knowledge of nationhood was what they knew, the United States. So when you look at Liberia, the language, the official language is English. The flag resembles the flag of the United States and so forth because that's all that they knew. You can go there. We can go there now and begin to change things the way that we believe that things should be and help. You already have a nation. You don't need a nation of religion, a nation of Islam. You need a government. You need a nation for all of the people, not for those who convert to a religion, want to live under some type of religious doctrine. No, you want to live free. Living under religion, you are not free. You are a slave to some God and the men that put themselves in charge who's supposed to represent this God. That's nothing but slavery. But again, Liberia is just ignored. Dr. Umar Johnson wants to build a school. You can do it right there in Liberia. Whatever you want. The land is there. The people, your own relative. You don't have to go to Kemet. You don't have to go to Ethiopia. You don't have to be a Hebrew Israelite. Your people are right there. The land is right there. The people are waiting on us because we are one and the same for real. Not no make-believe. Not no I thinks. They are the same as we are, except they were of the brave. They decided to try to do something on their own. While our ancestors decided, this is our land too, Massa. And they ain't gave you a damn thing except a rope around your neck. So I understand why the Nation of Islam would have this back and forth with the KKK, but they are not the government, period. Let's continue this conversation. Not gonna keep you long. Just let's roll.
Nothing that we have. The only movement we've ever had that encouraged black people to take care of their health is the Nation of Islam under Elijah Muhammad. And look at black people's health now that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is no longer with us. Look how fat we are. We're down from diabetes, tuberculosis, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, strokes, kidney failure, liver damage. Look at all the people he got off drugs and alcohol. How in the hell are you going to try to compare Malcolm X to him? There ain't even no competition, period. When you line up the greatest black Muslims ever, you're going to start with Elijah Muhammad. Then you're going to go to Minister Louis Farrakhan. Then you're going to go to his son, Mustafa. Then you're going to go to Khalid Muhammad. Then Malcolm X. Malcolm X couldn't fuck with Khalid in his dreams.
Excuse me. I have to laugh. I really have to laugh. This brother, woo! I mean, you are entitled to your opinion. I mean, that's just good. But clearly, here's another Farrakhan brown noser Okay. He says all these people are greater than Malcolm X. Let me go a little backwards to How to Eat to Live. Quite honestly, How to Eat to Live is a good thing. I can't trash How to Eat to Live. It's a good thing. It's good to try to make an attempt to live as healthy as you can. And How to Eat to Live was the first time, just like the brother said, that an organization focused on our physical health. This was a good thing. No problem with that. I never heard Brother Malcolm say anything against How to Eat to Live. In fact, Malcolm was a prime example of How to Eat to Live. Those who were around Brother Malcolm would testify and they would report that Malcolm actually, 1 meal a day, no snacks. Malcolm was very disciplined on this. And during the autopsy, because of the manner in which Malcolm took care of himself, according to the coroner, that the body of Malcolm was immaculate. I mean, he was in very, very good health due to How to Eat to Live. Now, I want to tell us something because we need to get real. This is the Reality's Temple, and we need to get real. Time exposes certain things. So, how long has How to Eat to Live, this teaching, been around? Been around 80 years. Now, since the time of Wallace Farad Muhammad. So, according to the teachings and according to this belief in this diet, you should have a lot of black Muslims who are alive right now, including Wallace Farad Muhammad. We should see him. They should be over 100 years old, running around here and doing just fine from eating 1 meal a day. Such is not the case. Elijah Muhammad barely made 80 years old. We don't know what happened to Wallace Farad Muhammad. There were hundreds of followers who were supposed to be practicing How to Eat to Live. Where are they? I know black Muslims right now. They supposed to be eating 1 meal a day. They obese. They fat, out of shape. High blood pressure, no blood pressure, diabetes, all kinds of stuff has happened to them. Arthritis. Now, in the Nation of Islam, they say you get a lot of arthritis from eating pig. These people have not ate pork for 20, 30 years. Where did the arthritis come from if pork give you arthritis? Then you have people who don't have arthritis, ate pork all their life. Let's get real. Try to eat in a manner, take care of yourself in a manner, do the best that you can. But the reality is, there's nothing that's going to save you from death. There's nothing that's going to save you from sickness. When it's time for you to get sick, when it's time for you to die, I don't care how healthy you think that you are, your time is over. That's just the bottom line. Dr. Sebi told us about sickness or whatever. Dr. Sebi did not make 90 years old himself. All these people teaching us how to eat to live, how long, the ones that's doing all this teaching, how long did they live? Many of them are dead right now. Drinking all kinds of green juice, pureeing all kinds of vegetables, doing all kinds of stuff. But the reality is, whatever's going to happen to us is going to happen to us. We can try to prevent it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's natural for us to try to save our life. But we need to stop. We need to look at this thing in a real sense, because how to eat to live, clearly, it's been 80 years. Nobody can testify that because of one meal a day, I'm 150 years old and I'm doing well. So let's just get real about it. Now, woo, this bruh, then he goes on, he's a Farrakhan brown noser. If it was not for Malcolm, like I said earlier, if it was not for the man who Malcolm X really already was prior to Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X made the Nation of Islam what it became. His energy, his work, his persona, his sincerity, his honesty. He's the one that brought the nation from this point. Was Pharaoh Muhammad didn't do it, Elijah Muhammad didn't do it, and Farrakhan didn't do it. And whatever Farrakhan has, it was because of Malcolm prior to him. Malcolm was the one that brought this style of teaching, this style of bringing this message. And everybody, even Farrakhan himself would tell you. So I don't know where you, and then you talk about Farrakhan's son. Get out of here. Farrakhan's son ain't done nothing except stand up next to his father during speeches. What have Mustafa Farrakhan done? Come on, you got to get real. You know, you're not going to tell me Elijah Muhammad was not jealous of Malcolm, because here I am. Here is Elijah Muhammad, but you are not capable. You could not do what Malcolm done in a short period of time. We give Elijah Muhammad his props. But you know something? They became corrupt. And it all fell down because of corruption. Because the money started pouring in. And the sisters, even though they was covered up, the big booties were still showing and the big breasts. The women and the money and the praise and the power. And it all came crumbling down. They had something good for brothers and sisters. The organization was good, but it became corrupt. And it's still messed up right now to this day. Because they won't let Malcolm rest in peace. They still going back to the past. The teachers have not evolved. They spooky. God is a man, but the teachers is spooky. Oh, come on. How are you better than Malcolm? We don't know how better you would have. If you were so better than Malcolm, then why was there effort? Why did you talk about it? Why didn't you leave the man alone? Why didn't you let him do his work in peace? Because of jealousy, because of envy, because you saw what he did with the nation. You know what he's capable of. Come on, let's get real about this. We want a brown nose. What have Louis Farrakhan? Louis Farrakhan has had millions and millions of dollars. Malcolm didn't have all this. Malcolm had more obstacles, less money than Louis Farrakhan. And what has Louis Farrakhan produced? In comparison to the resources available to him, he has accomplished nothing. Nothing. A little grocery store, a little restaurant. So what? Like I said earlier, exactly what do the Nation of Islam, what have they actually done for the brothers and sisters of soul? Answer that. Show me. I want you to put it out. Most of the Nation of Islam businesses failed. They don't talk about that. They failed. There was a rich cracker, J.L. Hunt, I believe that's what he was. He was giving the Nation of Islam money, Elijah Muhammad. And Elijah Muhammad was using his personal money to keep some of these Nation of Islam businesses afloat. Nation of Islam businesses right now don't make it. They don't float. How many times in Chicago that Salon restaurant is open, then it's closed, then it's open, then it's closed? Come on, y'all. We need to get real. We keep holding on to symbol with no substance, and we love incompetent leadership because that gives us a reason not to do nothing. That gives us a reason to enjoy our being a comfortable slave. That's just the bottom line. Let us continue, or maybe this is the end of this talk. Let's see.
Look at this real situation. Look how happy the white media is to be there to watch Malcolm, student number 1, trash the master teacher. Y'all don't see that, huh? But you see me getting on Malcolm, but you don't see how happy the white media was to watch Malcolm trash his brother for their pleasure, not for black people's pleasure. Malcolm X is one of the people that woke me up. I was young out of high school, and the first black consciousness I got was reading Malcolm X Speaks. And I had these red dreadlocks and red hair. People used to say Malcolm was my relative.
Well, I've listened to this brother, and just like so many, excuse me, like so many Louis Farrakhan brown noses, they are on the outside looking in. Things are not always what they seem. And they talk about Farrakhan and they talk about Elijah Muhammad. But if you notice, they don't join. If Farrakhan is so great, if Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam is so great, why don't you join it? Why don't you become part of it? How are you going to tell me anything and I can talk because I was part of it? I joined it. I was not on the outside looking in. I was in the inside looking out. I was in the Nation of Islam under Minister Louis Farrakhan, straight out of high school. I gave the Nation of Islam under his leadership 7 to 9 years. As a child, I was a teenager. And that's the only way you could have gotten me, because I was a child, I was a teenager. But as I began to mature as an adult, you can't keep feeding me milk. You're going to have to give me something more solid. And as time began to go march forward, I began to see this is not what I thought it was. It's not accomplishing nothing. It's a bunch of symbol without substance. I remember one day I was on my post, and a sister came from up out of one of our large meetings. And see, we believe the hype. Flavor Flav said, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. We believe the hype. Just because somebody has thousands of people following them and whatever, that don't make them right. Because you popular, that don't mean you got it going on. You know what you're doing. It just means that you're entertaining. And that's what this sister said. She came out of the meeting. She looked like she just came out of church. And she said she was talking to somebody that she came to the meeting with. I surely enjoyed that show they put on. Her words made me angry. Here I am fighting for black liberation. Here I am fighting for the rights, the dignity of dark-skinned people in this nation. And this lady gonna call what I represent a show? But as time went on and her words stayed with me, I began to see that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it is right now. It's nothing but a beautiful show. Entertainment. It has accomplished nothing. Because if it wasn't a show, then those who are involved in it, you would end up harassed. This government will come down on you. The reason why the government did not bother the Nation of Islam, because it was nothing but a show. Them Negroes ain't gonna do nothing. They had to do something with the Black Panthers because they had the attitude, and they did pick up a gun. We gotta nip this in the bud. That made the Black Panthers dangerous. The Nation of Islam was running around killing black folks. Why would I, as a racist, wish to get rid of them? They're not going to do nothing to us. Things are not always what they seem. I can talk. I was in the nation. I worked out of Louis Farrakhan's house, fixed on his cars, stood in front of him willing to take a bullet. You can't come to me and tell me some crap. I was right there. The Nation of Islam does not exist. It was destroyed a long time ago. The one who took over the leadership of the Nation of Islam was Warith Deen Muhammad. And he dismantled it. It was over. He's the only one. He's the only one with the authority. He was the leader, not Louis Farrakhan. If Louis Farrakhan wanted to be the leader of the Nation of Islam, he should have challenged Warith Deen Muhammad. But he didn't. Why? I didn't want to cause trouble. If the Nation of Islam, you're supposed to be the leader, you a man, you need to challenge this man that has your position. But you didn't. Sound like some scary, cowardly stuff to me. Because if that's my post, if that's what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to challenge this fella. That's mine, man. And all of you need to understand, that's my post. That's my position. The Nation of Islam, anybody can use that name. It's destroyed. It no longer exists. The Nation of Islam that you're talking about is Louis Farrakhan's version. Has nothing to do with Elijah Muhammad. Has nothing to do with Warith Deen Muhammad. It's his version. In fact, much of the teachings, you cannot even justify Louis Farrakhan's actions based in the teaching, because it is not the Nation of Islam. It's just called that. You want to keep talking about Malcolm, keep putting Malcolm on the hot seat, but at the same time, you just want to ignore the wrongdoings of the people you brown nose. Louis Farrakhan can do no wrong. Elijah Muhammad can do no wrong. They perfect, no matter what they do. Elijah Muhammad can sleep with all the young women he wants to. Louis Farrakhan can mess up all the money that he gets, all he wants to, and give you nothing. They can sit around and kill black folks. That's all right too. They can do no wrong. You can justify everything that they do. That's how it is with a brown noser. I am standing up for Malcolm X because he deserves it. However, I'm very sure, and I know that Malcolm is not perfect. I know that he done things wrong too. At the same time, I understand Malcolm's position because it's just little old Malcolm versus, as you said, the greatest organization in the black community. So what did you expect this man to do when he's being attacked by a government? The only thing that you can see is your own hate and your own bias because this man talked about that which you love, that can't do no wrong. But bruh, and all of you out there, you're going to get a wake-up call. All your people that you brown nose, you kiss their backside and think they God, they do wrong. They do wrong, they're incompetent, and all the other things. They are human beings, and they will die, just like anybody else. You just want somebody to brown nose, somebody to serve and submit. And in this case, entertain you, because that's all that it is. You have gotten nothing out of the Nation of Islam except a good show. Moving on, what else does this man has to say? Let's bring this to conclusion. I think I have and you have had enough of this foolishness.
Because kidnapping is a crime. And that's the first thing people say. Well, he wanted to get it out to the black people. No, he didn't. He was talking to white people. He was crying like a little fucking girl, telling all the inside business instead of manning up, putting his boots on, and walking in there Elijah Muhammad and shutting the fuck up. He fucked up from the day when he got in Elijah's personal fucking business, telling all his business. If y'all think that he went there and the first time he started talking Elijah business was in front of CBS, you're full of shit. Y'all know how black people get out. He was talking that shit to all different type of people, and he said shit to other brothers in the Nation of Islam, and you know they went back and told their goddamn teacher, Malcolm out here talking a bunch of motherfucking foo-foo shit about you. And one reason y'all ain't got no respect for Elijah Muhammad, because you ain't no Don, you ain't no boss, you ain't no king. You're just talking that king shit. It's easy for you to put yourself in the position of a follower like Malcolm. It ain't easy for you to put your mind state as the leader Elijah like me. I could think like Elijah. I'm going to keep it 1,000 with y'all. If I would have been in the Nation of Islam, at the time Malcolm made those statements, I would have wanted his ass dead. On God, I would have.
Wow. See what I mean? Did you hear what this guy just said, this brother, so-called brother? He said, if I was in the Nation of Islam at that time, which he wasn't, I would have wanted Malcolm dead too. See, there's a sick mentality going on here. The behavior still exists to this day. To murder black folks, not to murder Caucasian people. See, look at this. Brother Malcolm made a request for a trial. I wish to step before the congregation, the believers, and make my case. I want to defend myself against the allegations, the accusations that have been placed upon me. The Nation of Islam denied Malcolm. This is what's supposed to happen in the nation. When you are accused of something, you're supposed to be able to go before the believers and make your case. Malcolm was denied this. Yet and still now, the Nation of Islam is supposed to represent freedom, justice, and equality. How is to deny this man the right to defend himself against allegations and accusations? How is that justice? The reason why you don't want Malcolm to go before the believers is because you know that Malcolm can defend himself. You know that your allegations and your accusations are weak, and you did not want the believers to see how raggedy and how messed up, how for real wacky y'all really are. You didn't want to give this man the opportunity. He continues to talk about Malcolm should not have gotten into Elijah Muhammad's personal business. When it comes to the teachings, Elijah Muhammad has no personal business, because your master teacher, your teacher says or was teaching and promoting monogamy. He did not promote polygamy. Now, it's very simple. If Elijah Muhammad wanted to have all these women, these so-called wives, it's very easy. Just make it part of the teachings. There are brothers right now, like Brother Polite. He has 7 wives or whatever. I mean, it's just outright. If you don't want nothing to do with that, then you can go on move somewhere else. Brother Polite is, I have all these girlfriends, wives, or whatever. They can't be wives in the United States. That's against the law. So you got all these women that you calling wives or whatever. But that's not what Elijah Muhammad did. Elijah Muhammad kept his relationship with young women. I don't know if they was teenagers or younger, but anyway, they was kept. And if they were younger than teenagers, or they were young, very young girls, then you're dealing with a person who is a pedophile. So you keeping the fact that you are a pedophile, you are keeping the fact that you are messing with all these young women a secret, undercover, on the down low. Why are you doing this? This is called deception, sir. You are a deceiver. That's the reality of it, sir. That's not your personal business. You're bringing a teaching to a people, but you're not practicing it yourself. Also makes you a hypocrite and a liar. When it came to the so-called personal business of Elijah Muhammad, the racist newspaper like the New York Post, the New York Times, other newspapers already caught on the rumors that Elijah Muhammad was messing around with these young women. They already knew. That's the reason why Malcolm already had an idea this was going on. But of course, he was like you, a brown noser. He did not want to believe the rumors until the rumors was verified by Elijah Muhammad's son, and he told him, yeah, that's true. And you are a believer, and it hurts you because you are taught one thing, but your teacher is doing something else. Come on, get out of here. Brown noser. The people that you love, they can't do no wrong. It's a hurtful thing, because I know for me, it was a hurtful thing when I learned about this for the first time. If I knew about what the Nation of Islam, what they did to Malcolm, how they treated Malcolm, Elijah Muhammad's so-called wives and all this stuff, I would have never joined the Nation of Islam. Never. I would have nothing to do with Islam. Period. But y'all keep it on the down low, keep it on the hush. That's the reason why you don't want Malcolm talked about. Because in order to talk about Malcolm, all these things going to come in, and the people will see the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, and all these other players exactly what they was, a bunch of murderers. Hate-filled and jealous, corrupt. That's the reality of it. And it's still that way right now to this day. Even those who didn't even join the Nation of Islam, just like this man verified. Now, you get angry at Malcolm because he telling Elijah Muhammad's business. So did the New York Post, so did other Caucasian newspapers. What did you do to them? Nothing. But you want to get happy when men shoot down an unarmed man in front of his wife and children. That's supposed to be something to glorify. A bunch of cowards that shoot an unarmed man in front of his women and children. Even in the Wild Wild West, they would have caught you and lynched you. You do not shoot down an unarmed man, especially in front of his wife and children. Come on now. But these cowards, y'all a bunch of cowards, because you will kill black folks, but they won't do nothing. They won't do nothing against the races. The Nation of Islam rented the ballroom prior to the death of Malcolm. They was there. They rented the ballroom, scoped it out. They used their radio, and their newspapers had nothing to do with the FBI, CIA. All this was Nation of Islam activity because they were setting this man up. Captain Yusuf Shah, it was reported on his deathbed, said that he was present at the firebombing of Malcolm X's home. They did not give a damn about Sister Betty, did not give a damn about the black children, the black woman. They did not care. They want to downplay the wisdom and the intelligence of Malcolm, but yet and still, with all your supreme wisdom, but if you have so much supreme wisdom and you were so damn smart, how come you didn't allow your supreme wisdom and your supreme intelligence to simply override this man? Because you knew of his potential. You knew what he was capable of. And he was a real revolutionary, and y'all are a bunch of fakes, and you're fake to this day. You call somebody a hypocrite. You don't even know what a hypocrite is. A hypocrite is somebody trying to be somebody they are not. Malcolm was not in the Nation of Islam. He was no longer claiming to be a believer in Elijah Muhammad and those teachings. So he's not a hypocrite. A hypocrite stays in the house trying to be like you are, but they don't believe. Hypocrites stay in the house. They don't leave the house. The hypocrites stay in the house and so they can destroy the house from the inside out, and that's what happened to the Nation of Islam. How was Malcolm a traitor? The Nation of Islam betrayed him. He did not betray the Nation of Islam. What did he do? He didn't do nothing to betray. Gave him this little $5 house. So childish. You mad and you angry and upset. Get out of my house. This man put you on a level you couldn't even comprehend. And you crying about a $5 house because you mad. Childish, and you still childish acting right now to this day. So again, this man proves my point that the mentality and the behavior, it was there then and it's still right now. If I was a Muslim, I want to kill Malcolm too. You want to kill him because you don't have the wisdom, the knowledge to deal with him. In fact, what you should have done, just leave the man alone. And he just would have, if he was as pitiful and pathetic as y'all claim, then he just eventually would have went into obscurity. Simple as that. But you wanted him dead because he was a threat to your money. That's what it was. A threat to your money. Because you don't give a damn about black folks. It's about living like Elijah Muhammad did and like Farrakhan do right now. Living with the racist pink people in their neighborhood. Living a life of luxury. It's about money. That's the bottom line. It's not nothing. That's why black folks don't benefit from nothing the Nation of Islam do. Where is your free medical care? Where is the Nation of Islam? The Nation of Islam don't even give out turkeys on Christmas. They don't do nothing. Come on, man. What else you have to say? Bring it. You need a serious reality check.
But you black motherfuckers, every time somebody try to tell you something, you go out here whining. You learned all this motherfucking disrespect for your leaders and not motherfucking taking orders. You learned that shit from Malcolm X. Malcolm X was one of the main motherfucking people that got the black community fucked up. Malcolm X taught y'all to go against your fucking leaders. And he ain't never in his life as great as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He ain't even close.
I want to bring this talk to a conclusion, and I want to make something perfectly clear that I don't know about anyone else, but for this ministry, I have no problems with giving credit where credit is due. I understand that we are not perfect. That should not be used as an excuse for bad behavior. I will say that again. I'm not perfect. That should not be used as an excuse for bad behavior. That should not be used as an excuse to justify corruption. That should not be used as an excuse because I am a liar and a deceiver. At the end of all my videos, well, not all, some of them, this one you will see, I always give credit to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, Wallace Farad Muhammad, because they influenced, those teachings influenced me early in my life. And if not for those teachings, the chances of me speaking to you right now the way that I do is probably almost null and void. It's impossible. So you will see me give credit to these, and they are and were great men. That is not the problem. The problem is viewing things in a realistic manner. Not based on some kind of emotion, not because I like so-and-so. We must accept things as they are. So you have a brother here speaking, but he has never been a member of the Nation of Islam and really do not know the teaching. So, from the little pamphlet that I was given as a FOI, Fruit of Islam, the message that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is sending to his Fruit of Islam, it says, in the meaning of FOI, Elijah Muhammad tells his Fruit of Islam, now listen, you are not a robot. You are a soldier. You are a warrior. You are in a military-like organization, but you are not a robot. You are not simply to obey orders. You're not a robot. Elijah Muhammad gives the FOI the ability to make a choice, because that leader might not be on his P's and Q's. That leader might be incompetent. Does that telling the FOI you are not a robot, is that just that we are supposed to just abide by this to our minister or our captain, lieutenants? Does it also, do we raise that to the level of Elijah Muhammad himself? According to the teachings, listen, according to the teachings And Malcolm did this all the way to the time that he was murdered. You stand on truth. You stand on what is right. No matter what. What Elijah Muhammad was doing behind closed doors was not right. What was going on was not right. There was criminal activity going on in the nation, and people was turning a blind eye because of the money. It was all about money. Living a certain lifestyle. You must understand, and we must understand, that Elijah Muhammad was dirt poor. Wallace Muhammad, his son, said there was days when he had to eat 3, 4, 5-day-old bean soup. So to go from being so impoverished, now you live in this Hasidity lifestyle. And here you have an ex-member who is doing what you taught him. Stand on the truth. I don't give a damn who the deceiver is. I don't care who the one that is corrupt. Stand on the truth. That's what Malcolm did. You want to celebritize people. I don't care who you are. I don't support wrong. When you're wrong, you're wrong. I don't give a damn if you God, him or herself. If God is wrong, I don't stand with no God. To hell with God. If Jesus is wrong, I don't stand with that. According to the teachings itself, stand on truth. You are not a robot. Malcolm did exactly what he was taught. It's good if Malcolm stand and do this against the white man. It's good that Malcolm stand up and do this against Dr. King, Ralph Abernathy, or some of these other Negroes, whatever. It's good that Malcolm do that. But what if it's you? What if your teacher becomes corrupt? What if your mama becomes corrupt? Your father? Stand on truth no matter who it is. That's the teachings. You don't even know the teachings, sir. A FOI is not a robot. We don't just act because somebody says something. We have the right to think about that order. I know I did when I was younger. You had some silly lieutenants and some silly captains wanted to do crazy stuff. I'm not going to do it. So you can charge me with insubordination. So when you charge me with insubordination, then I go before the congregation, I go before the believers, and I have a chance to defend my actions. Malcolm was denied the right to defend himself. And there's a reason for that. It was all about money. We're not going to allow Malcolm to go before the believers because he will expose how corrupt from the top the nation of Islam really is. The jealousy, the envy, the murderous thinking. That's the reason why. Messing with our money. So with that said, this guy here, I don't know what to say, but clearly he's living in some type of delusional world because all these folks that he's talking about can't compare, and the people themselves, people can see. You're angry and upset because with the people. The people themselves can see what happened and what's going on. That's the reason why. Has nothing to do with Elijah Muhammad was the man. I don't care what Elijah Muhammad was. Even though Malcolm is long gone, I didn't know who Malcolm was. The reason why I knew about Malcolm was because of the hate speech against him from Louis Farrakhan. So I decided to do my own investigation, and I found out that the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, they were wrong. Simple as that. because you stand on the truth. You stand on what is right. I don't care who you are. Malcolm did exactly what he was taught by the teacher. And now you're upset because the student is actually doing what you taught him to do. He's not a blind follower. And so since the Nation of Islam was filled with blind followers and hypocrites, it all crumbled to nothing. And you think that what's going on right now is something. It's nothing at all. It has no power. It's just here. Don't mean nothing at all. Being popular, having thousands of people listen to you, because that's all they're going to do is listen. Y'all not accomplishing nothing. What have your 3-year economic program done? 5-year program, 5-year economic program. I have not ate and have not seen a peach or an apple or nothing that you're producing. I don't see the people that you employ. What is it that you're supposed to be doing? It's all, like the sister said, a show. Flavor Flav said, don't believe the hype. See, Malcolm didn't believe the hype. He didn't get caught up in the show. He was not a blind follower. He was not a robot. And for all of us listening to this video, don't never become a robot. You're nobody's slave. Always have your mind open to new ideas, new strategy. Stand on the truth. Stand on what is right. And be against anything that is corrupt and wrong. I don't care who it is. Be like. Don't be like. Physically. Don't try to be like. Be yourself. But do exactly what Malcolm did. Stand on the truth and stand on what is right. Regardless. And he paid for it with his life. With that said, y'all, thank you for listening. Jot down your comments. And until next time, as Don Cornelius always would say, in parting, I wish us love, peace, and